kingdom built on divine order, a throne seized by a jealous god of chaos, a son born in secret and destined for revenge. This is the tale of an 80-year war that wasn't just for a golden crown, but for the very soul of ancient Egypt. It was a brutal, relentless conflict between a nephew and his murderous uncle that would forever define the epic battle between order and chaos. This is the saga of Horus versus Set, a myth so foundational, so powerful, that it shaped what it meant to be a pharaoh and steered the spiritual destiny of an entire civilization for thousands of years. The Golden Age and the seeds of jealousy. Before all the blood and betrayal, there was a golden age. Egypt, the jewel of the world, was guided by the benevolent god-king Osiris. He was a god of fertility and life, who taught humanity the arts of farming and how to build a civilization. His reign was one of Maat, the sacred principle of truth, divine order, and cosmic harmony. By his side ruled his sister wife, the goddess Isis, a master of magic and the very picture of devotion. Together, they were a perfect team, loved by gods and mortals alike. But not everyone in the divine family was happy. A poison was festering. Set, Osirish's younger brother, was everything his brother was not. He was the god of the harsh, red desert lands, of violent storms, chaos, and foreign places. Where Osiris commanded love, Set inspired fear. He was a raw force of nature, powerful and untamable, and he watched his brother's peaceful, prosperous kingdom with a burning envy. And that envy eventually curdled into a sinister plot, one that would not only shatter his family, but plunge the divine world into a war that would rage for an entire lifetime. Set's plan was as cunning as it was cruel. He threw a magnificent party, inviting all the gods, with Osiris as the guest of honor. The night was a blur of feasting and celebration. Then, for the grand finale, Set unveiled a stunningly beautiful chest, exquisitely crafted and adorned with gold. He announced that this magnificent prize would belong to any guest who could fit perfectly inside. One by one, the gods gave it a try, but none of them fit. Too big, too small. Finally, it was Osiris's turn. Of course, he didn't know that Set had secretly taken his exact measurements while he slept. As Osiris lay down, he fit like a glove. And in that instant, before anyone could react, Set and his conspirators slammed the heavy lid shut, sealing it fast. The beautiful chest had just become a coffin. They dragged it to the banks of the Nile and tossed it in, letting the current carry the murdered king away. With Osiris gone, Set seized the throne. His reign of chaos and tyranny had begun. A mother's love and a son's promise. The news of her husband's murder absolutely shattered Isis. Overcome with grief, she transformed into a great bird, a kite, and her mournful cries echoed across Egypt as she desperately searched for her lost love. After a long search, she found the chest washed ashore, with a sacred tree having miraculously grown around it. She managed to bring her husband's body back to Egypt, hiding it deep in the papyrus swamps of the Nile Delta. She planned to perform the sacred rites that would ensure his safe passage to the afterlife. But Set's spies were everywhere. While out on a hunt, he stumbled upon his brother's hidden body. In a fit of pure animal rage, and determined to stop any chance of Osiris's return, Set did the unthinkable. He hacked his brother's body into 14 pieces and scattered them all across Egypt. This was the ultimate desecration, an attempt to literally erase Osiris from existence and make sure his own chaotic rule would never be challenged. Yet, Set had completely underestimated the magical power and sheer will of Isis. With the help of her sister Nephthys, who was actually Set's own wife and took pity on her, Isis began the heartbreaking task of finding every last piece of her husband. She roamed the land, collecting the scattered remains and painstakingly putting them back together. Once he was whole, Isis used her profound magic to breathe life back into Osiris's body, just long enough for them to conceive a child. Their son, Horus, was born from this magical union, a child of vengeance and destiny. His purpose was singular: to avenge his father and reclaim his birthright. His duty in the world of the living now done, Osiris descended to the underworld, where he became its just and eternal king, the ultimate judge of all mortal souls. Isis, now a fiercely protective mother, hid her infant son Horus deep in the marshes, shielding him from his uncle's murderous gaze. And there, in secret, the heir to Egypt grew up, his heart hardening with the promise of a war to come. The 80-year war, the contendings of Horus and Set, when Horus finally came of age, now a powerful god with the head of a falcon, he was ready. He strode into the divine court of the gods, the Ennead, and formally challenged Set for the throne. This one act ignited a conflict that would last for 80 long years. This wasn't a single war, but a grueling series of brutal fights, clever contests, and heated legal battles in front of the gods. The divine council was split. Some gods, like the wise Thoth, sided with Horus, arguing that a kingdom should always pass from father to son. But the great sun god Ra, the creator, actually favored Set at first. He saw Set as a strong, if brutal, warrior who defended his solar boat every single night from the great chaos serpent, Apep. To Ra, Horus was just a kid. And so, the contendings began. The battles were absolutely savage. In one ferocious clash, Set tore out Horus's left eye. Though it was shattered, the eye was later magically healed by the god Thoth. This restored eye became the Wajit, the famous Eye of Horus, one of ancient Egypt's most powerful symbols of healing, protection, and royal power. But Horus got his own licks in too. He managed to land a devastating blow, injuring Set's testicles, a symbolic attack on his strength and virility. But this war wasn't just about brute force. It was about cunning. Set challenged Horus to a boat race, but with a catch. The boats had to be made of stone. Set, ever the brute, tore the top off a mountain to craft his massive ship. Horus, on the other hand, built his boat from pine wood and then cleverly covered it with plaster, painted to look just like stone. When the race started, Set's impossibly heavy boat sank straight to the bottom of the Nile. Furious at being outsmarted, Set transformed into a hippopotamus and attacked Horus's boat, ending the contest in a chaotic mess. The rivalry got stranger and more personal. In another contest, they both turned into hippos to see who could hold their breath the longest underwater. Fearing for her son, Isis threw a harpoon to strike Set, but accidentally hit Horus. After pulling it out, she threw it again, hitting Set. But when he pleaded for his life, reminding her that he was her own brother, she felt a moment of pity and let him go. Furious at what he saw as his mother's betrayal, Horus flew into a rage and cut off her head, which Thoth later magically replaced with the head of a cow. And then there's the most infamous episode of all a depraved attempt by Set to prove his dominance. He tried to sexually assault Horus, thinking that by humiliating him, he could prove him unfit to rule. But Horus was too quick. He caught Set's semen in his hand and ran to his mother, Isis. Together, they hatched a brilliant, vengeful plan. She put Horus's own semen on some lettuce, which just so happened to be Set's favorite food. Set ate the lettuce, none the wiser. When they next stood before the court, Set boasted about what he had done. To prove it, the gods called forth Set's semen, but it answered from the river, where Horus had thrown it. Then they called for Horus's semen, and to everyone's shock, it answered from inside Set, appearing as a golden disc on his forehead. Set was utterly humiliated, outwitted by the very person he tried to disgrace. The final judgment and the restoration of Mat. For 80 years, the conflict dragged on. The endless cycle of violence, tricks, and legal deadlock was throwing the entire cosmos out of balance, and the gods were getting tired of it. The turning point didn't come from the world of the living, but from the realm of the dead. the gods decided to write a letter to the great Osiris himself, asking for his judgment. Osiris's reply was sharp and powerful. How, he asked them, could they sit by and allow his own son to be denied his birthright while his murderer sat on the throne? He then reminded them that he was the god who provided the grain that sustained both gods and mortals. And then came the chilling threat. If justice wasn't served, he would unleash his terrifying messengers from the land of the dead to wreak havoc on the world of the living. That did it. This powerful intervention, combined with Horus's repeated victories, finally swayed the court. The gods declared their final verdict. Horus was the rightful king of Egypt. The war was over. Horus had won, symbolizing the ultimate victory of order over chaos and justice over injustice. He took his father's throne, uniting the lands of Egypt under his rule. His victory restored Nat, the cosmic harmony that Set had shattered. So, what happened to Set? In the Egyptian way of thinking, you can't just destroy chaos. You have to balance and control it. So Set wasn't killed. Instead, he was given a new crucial job. He was banished to the deserts, but he was also tasked with protecting Raziel's solar boat on its nightly journey, using his incredible strength to fight off the serpent of chaos, Apep. And just like that, the destructive force of chaos was harnessed to protect the divine order. Set became the necessary enemy, the lord of the harsh red lands that defined the fertile black lands of the Nile, forever maintaining a delicate cosmic balance. The epic struggle between Horus and Set is one of the most important stories in all of mythology, a timeless tale of betrayal, revenge, and the fight for what's right. It teaches us that order must be fought for, that true leadership is earned, and that maybe even chaos has its place in the grand design of things. If you found this journey into ancient Egypt's soul fascinating, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next dive into ancient myths. Now we have a question for you. Do you think Set was a purely evil villain, or was he a necessary force of chaos that ultimately made the divine order stronger? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. You can still see the legacy of this 80-year war etched into the very stones of Egypt. Horus's victory created the divine blueprint for every pharaoh who followed. They were all considered his living incarnation on earth, the protectors of Mat. In fact, living Horus was the king's most important title. Many see the conflict as a grand political allegory for the unification of Egypt itself. The Eye of Horus became a constant symbol of protection, healing, and royal power, worn by the living and placed on the dead for thousands of years. The story of Horus and Set is so much more than a myth. It's the soul of ancient Egypt, a cosmic drama that explains that the fight between order and chaos isn't a single battle, but an eternal struggle that defines our world.